back, everybody. I'm Sydney Goodman, and we are talking about a sequel to a game that is very near and dear to my heart, which is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Hello.
Pleasure to be here.
So excited that you're here. So let's just start with the newest news, the newest of news. Would you like to brief us?
Yeah, so at E3 we've announced finally we've announced the gameplay for the game, because we've teased the game last year. We were like, hey, you know, it's Ori's back. It's going to have an emotional story. We built a really cool trailer, and at E3 we showed actually what the game is like to play. And at Gamescom, we are actually showing a new mode that we've added into Ori, and it's actually super, super cool. And we personally in the team are super excited about it because we got addicted to it. Literally, people stopped working, and we had to pull them off of playing our own game and actually doing some work. But
sounds like you have a competitive office.
we're extremely competitive, right? You got to be if you want to make, you know, the best games out there.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, the Ori, what was always great about it is the flow of the levels and the controls were, I think, one of the best, you know, the platforming genre of the recent years. And we always perfect this. We always really work hard on making sure everything feels just absolutely right. Everything is super responsive. The game runs at 60 frames per second. And the speedrunners really went ahead and they did something incredible with this game. You know, it was done on Games Done Quick every year. And we saw the potential there. So we've developed this technology where you can actually record people play the game, and we compress it in very efficient ways. We send it over networks so you can actually see how other people play the game. So we say, hey, what if we tried to race against those other people? So we define 2 points in the game, 2 totems, the starting and the ending one, and your goal is to get from one to the other as quickly as possible. And when we did that, we've seen that basically everybody in the team was just racing and trying to beat each other's score, and it was just crazy. We saw immediately, okay, there's something there. This is really compelling.
Yeah.
We gotta add this to the game, and it was super important for us because, you know, we didn't want to do this thing where like, okay, we're making Ori 2. How do we maybe introduce some social elements into it, because Ori 1 was, you know, very predominantly a single player game.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to do this thing where we disrespect what Ori was all about. We didn't want to do it in a way that doesn't fit, you know, sort of like, oh, let's make Ori and the Spirit Battle Royale, right? Like, we didn't want to do that.
What? We're not going to see that? I thought you were coming here to announce that.
I cannot deny or confirm anything, but probably not. Not at Gamescom, anyway. And we thought, well, how do we do this in a way that really fits the game, in a way that really adds to it and enhances it, rather than trying to sort of shoehorn it in a way that doesn't make any sense?
Totally.
And this felt like absolutely natural fit.
Well, I think you touched on something really interesting that I honestly didn't think about when I first heard about this announcement, because, you know, this is like, it's a time trial, it's competitive, but I also love that you can see the paths that your friends take, because they're probably different than how you're looking at it.
That's another thing that we really love about it, is that when we have these ghosts now, we can actually show you how other people play the game, and you can actually learn from them. You can, in this demo that we brought to Gamescom, it's actually hooked on the show floor. We're all playing the same build. We're all playing against each other. It's already working with the server. And you can actually preview every individual ghost, and you can see how everybody's shaving off that extra little second, how they do. Do they do double jump, dash, double jump to get this horizontal speed, or do they do dash, double jump, dash? I mean, these little things make a difference. And we think that we'll use the ghost tech in a lot of other ways that we're not yet talking about, but you know, not necessarily just the races. But yeah, I mean, we're super excited about just adding that social dynamic of like, if I log in and I have like 10 minutes to play, I don't want to commit, but I see my friend beat me at this race. I'm like, no way he's gonna beat me on that. I'm gonna beat him. And he just spent those 10 minutes, and it's fun. And I mean, the amount of hours we sank into this playing has just been, you know, we think it's also a lot of replay value in that. So people that want to come back and have more Ori, but they kind of finished the story already, they can come back and have a lot of this. I mean, we expect to have at least one of these races per environment in the game, and the game is going to be quite a lot bigger than the first game. So that's a lot, and maybe even more of that stuff.
So there's 2 points that I want to hit. First is, you mentioned seeing, kind of watching what other players are doing, and just the potential of using this tool to improve your own gameplay. But second is, where do you get these time trials areas, spirit trials areas? Like, are these areas of the game, or they're adapted from areas of the game?
No, they're absolutely part of the game. So you have to discover them first. You have to unlock, because certain trials, they require abilities that you might not yet have. So it wouldn't make sense to do those trials before you got those abilities, knew how to use them. So you discover those. They're spread throughout the world, and then you can race, and there will be a quick access thing from the main menu where you can jump right in and do some races that you want. We were considering maybe doing like marathons, where if you're really gotten good at the races, you can do like, I don't know, 10 in a row. Good
so
luck
it's
with
super
that.
long. Well, I
Yeah.
guess that's exactly what a marathon is. It's super long. But so you have to discover these within the world. I love how organic that feels to the gameplay, that you can engage in this. So when you are playing the area of the spirit trial in the story mode, does that take into account, like if you have a really fast time, will that translate to the spirit trial?
If you finish the actual game really fast,
So yeah, so if you finish that same area really fast in game, will that time carry over to your spirit trials
no,
time?
not necessarily. You gotta do the actual race because it's a very defined, very fair, sort of. I would say isolated segment, so that we can make sure everybody has a fair chance at it,
Yeah.
right? Because otherwise, it's like if you could take different paths, but we wanted to make sure it's something we can design for. We can make sure it's really absolutely perfect in terms of the flow.
So as far as other ghosts that you're seeing, are those your friends on Xbox? Are those anyone in the world? Like, how do you toggle that?
Yeah, there'll be different ways of actually choosing who you want to race against. So you could be racing against your friends, you could be racing against the best players in your country, or you could be racing against the best people in the world. It's really up to you, and we will have those options in the final game. It's just for Gamescom we had to focus on just the show floor.
So if you're competing against, let's say you choose everybody in the entire world,
Yeah.
is
Good
there a
luck.
limit for how many ghosts that you're going to see? Because that's going to be a lot of ghosts.
We are currently it's limited to 5, but we're still playing with these things. I mean, there's going to be a lot of customization options, it's like how you want to see those ghosts, how transparent they are, because some people like them to be more subtle or less subtle. Which ghost if you're spectating, because you can also just check how other people are playing, which ghost you want to see, how many. But yeah, you wouldn't be able probably to go, with like a crazy amount of ghosts, just like flooding the screen and the explosion of fireworks of different color.
It would definitely be very pretty. I don't know that it would be very functional.
Yeah, no, not so much.
My personal feedback, in case you were thinking
we'll
about
write that
putting.
down.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So, people that are playing this probably are competitive. But is there more rewards than just being number one on the leaderboard?
Absolutely. We are tying it back to the currency that we have in the game and actual. If you've seen the demo from E3, there is a lot more you can find in the world. That we have a new spirit charge system. We have a whole new slew of spells and weapons that help you really customize the way you play. You have the spirit energy that can be used to upgrade all of those shards. So there's a lot you can do with that currency, and definitely the races are going to be tied back into that reward system.
So let's talk about that, the skill tree. You said that it changed.
Absolutely.
How did it change?
So the first game was designed with this tree approach, right? You had three paths, and while it was really straightforward and simple, and that's a good thing, it did limit us design-wise because, and the players as well were limited with it because were locked in a path. So you had to, in order to get an item, you would need to get everything before it. With Ori 2, we wanted to open it up so you could get absolutely everything in any order you want. You could skip certain things, you could get some other things, and you could really customize the game to the way you want to play. So if you're struggling with platforming, you would get a shard that gives you a triple jump or enhances your platforming. If you're the kind of person that needs help with combat and the enemies really annoy you and you want to get back to them, you'd really make your combat a lot more powerful, and you would invest there. So there's just a lot more customizability and how you can play the game, which is really cool because you hopefully play the game in multiple ways, many times, and get a lot of replay value out of that. And also, it really helps accessibility because different people can play the game in the way that is most accessible to them and cater to their own needs.
So I have 2 more questions for you. The first is you mentioned combat. So the combat in the first game wasn't necessarily the most complex.
No.
What can we expect in this one?
So as you've said, it's not that the combat. It was. We wanted to make sure we're focusing on the platforming in the first game, and that what we were really elevating. So the combat was a bit simplistic. It took kind of like a background role, but here we want to pull out all the stops. So with Ori 2, we have the actual melee weapons. We have the sword and we have the hammer. Those are the ones we've shown at E3 and now at Gamescom. And there's a lot more that we'll have for the melee weapons. We have the ranged weapons like the bow. We have a whole slew of spells like the actual spirit spear that Ori can throw, which is my personal favorite because it's really powerful and the effects are just super nice. We have the little grenades that you can use. We have the healing spells, so the passive abilities. And we also have the shards that can modify all of that. So the combinations are just just, you know, I wouldn't say infinite, but there's just a lot of combinations that the players can go for. And it's just, I believe it's a much more compelling combat than compared to the first game. And we personally already see how much it changes, how it informs our design, or even our level design, because the combat is such a major part of the game now, and we have to design for that.
Definitely.
So it's really, I think it's going to be one of the highlights of Ori 2.
So my last question, and it's kind of a silly question because I think I already know the answer.
Okay.
But should I expect to cry as much in this one as I did in the last one? Because I cried a lot.
I want to apologize ahead of time, but there might be a lot of crying involved.
Okay.
I think personally it's going to be even more emotional than the first game in a lot of ways. We won't repeat ourselves though the same way, so you people can let their guard down. We won't just make you cry in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But there are things that are going to happen throughout the game and the ending that will, I think, yeah. If you've played the first game, sorry, if you haven't played the first game, then it's going to be a very powerful story. If you have played the first game, it's going to be incredible.
Well, I thought you were going to say very sad. I was like bracing for that. Just please don't kill Ori. That's all I can ask. You don't have to comment on it. I'm just going to put that in the air. But thank you so much for coming here and chatting with us. Stick around because Gamescom 2018 is coming back at you.